All right, is this thing on? Is this thing on? I think it is. Hey, everybody, my name is Derek, and I am the owner, creator, and head silicone slinger at Omg I, where we make silicone toys for adults. All right, so tonight I have Linda from Paladin Pleasure Sculptors, who'll be joining me in just a few minutes. We've both been kind of bouncing around, having fun, listening to the music, and George is over there drinking her coffee. George will be manning the chat this evening, as she normally does. And as you have questions, she will gather those up and get them to us so that we can talk about all the different things. But before we get to that point, a couple things I've been working on behind the scenes. Number one, ever since I started making videos, there are two things that people have been asking me about. The first was the mold stands, the stands that I use for holding my glove molds. And I always get direct messages, comments on my videos. Where do you get the stands? Well, I never really had a good answer because it was something that I whipped up for myself. It was, designed to be what I needed. So that's what I just told everybody was, grab a 3D modeling product. Fusion 360 is what I used. Model it out, and then throw it on your 3D printer, and you're off and running. But people keep asking me about it. So what I have done is I have set up a Gumroad account. And on Gumroad, it's going to be set up as a pay-what-you-want product. So it's free if you want it. If you want to just run off with it, you can. Print as many as you want. Don't sell them. But if you want to just print off a few for yourself, you're more than welcome to. But it's also a pay-what-you-want. So if you want to, you can slip me a few bucks. It's not required, but it's a little way for you to support us for what we do. There will be links in the video description. So that's I think it's omavidi.gumroad.com. I think that'll get you there. And there's also a second. I did this. I don't know why anybody would want me to do this, but actually people have already asked me to. There is a printed version. So if you want to have one printed, I'll print it for you and ship it out. I do have to charge for that. So there will be a fee. You'll find it. It's easy enough. The second thing that everybody has always asked about was this. My cap and straw for my mold release. Oops. I can never figure out my cameras. And I've never been able to tell anybody where to get them because I repurposed mine. I got mine from something else and then just have been, every time I get a new can of mold release, I move the cap to the new one. But I did find a supplier for that. And I have added that to my list, recommended gear. And I think I mentioned this. I have another website. There's omavidi.com, which is all of our products and everything. And then there's another one. It's called imakesextoys.com. And that is where we're putting all of our informational kind of stuff. And then there's a recommended gear link up in there. And hit that link and you can get all the different stuff, including the cap and straw that I have been using. So I will say that all of those links on imakesextoys.com are affiliate links, so we will get a little bit of a kickback on that. Doesn't change your price at all, but if you use the links, it helps us out a little bit. And finally, last thing I've got is I've been working on a toy maker's handbook, kind of a full-length book on how to make toys. And I think I've decided that I'm going to start releasing that chapter by chapter to the Patreon. So any of the Patreon supporters are going to have access to those chapters as they get released, and then they can give me feedback. This is all going to be rough, this is all rough draft stuff. So there will be plenty there to fix and to give comments on. So if you want to jump on Patreon, patreon.com/omavidi. I'm throwing all kinds of links out there, so hopefully George can keep up. But hit the link for Patreon and support us if you so choose. All right. And with that, I am going to bring on Billy's Human. We've got Linda with Paladin Pleasure Sculptors. Let me see if I can find, where is it? There it is. Hey, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. I appreciate you listening to my whole spiel there. I just kind of went
No,
off
that was
and.
great.
So, how are you doing this evening?
Can't complain. Hi, everyone.
Now, I I say this. I was going to say everybody knows this about me, but that those last few minutes right before I go live, and I have that one moment right before I hit the link that says "Go live." When I go to hit that link, I am just so nervous. I'm like, oh my God, am I going to freak out here or what? But so we were having some fun talking about my nerves and all of that. But people know all about me. They want to know about you. Why don't you take a second and tell us kind of who you are and all of the things about you?
Oh, wow. I'm
No pressure.
really bad at talking about myself, so this is probably going to be the most difficult part. Like, I'm good at talking about other things, but me, it's like...
Well, that's why that's why we rewrote your bio. So if you look at the bio that is in the video description, Billy wrote that.
Billy wrote that because he's better at talking about me than I am. But hi, I'm Linda, owner, creator for whatever, everything that has to do with PBS. Hi. I wear a lot of hats. Probably why my head's so big. But I started doing this about two and a half years ago, maybe. No, 2 years ago. 2 years and a few months. And it was kind of like I wonder if I can do it kind of thing. And instead of thinking about it, I just did it. And never
those
looked back.
questions of how hard could it be?
Oh God. Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was like, okay, well, I can make soap. It can't be that difficult if I can make soap.
Right.
Because it's very similar. Well, kind of.
Well, you're taking a liquid and making it solid.
Yeah, and like the cure times are about the same. Well, depending on how you mix your soap and what oils you use. But same with silicone. What kind of silicone are you using? And you have to color it. The only difference is with soap, you can cut into it when you're done. Can't do that with silicone. Well, you can, but it would defeat the purpose.
It would. Which, if you're using silicone, you can only work with the outside surface in terms of, the design that you're trying to create. And with soap, like you said, you can cut into that. You can kind of, you can see those layers and all that marbling that's happening on the inside.
I have cut into like flops, like super flops before, and I wish I kept them because when you do the rainbows, it is so cool. Like the cross section. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'll just sacrifice a piece one of these days.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely I've cut mine open before because I was doing some things and I wanted to see what the flow pattern was on the inside. And the only way you can see that is if you're actually, cut the whole thing open. And it hurts, there's a little bit of pain that goes along with that. By the way, I do see the chat going by, and if there are any questions, I'm going to have George gather those up, and we'll work them in as we go along, but we may also wait and hold some of them to the end. But definitely get your questions into the chat if you have anything. Now, I guess, so we kind of talked about, how hard could it be, and you've got a little bit of experience with soap and things like that. But so why silicone? Why adult toys?
I had been in the community for about, I want to say maybe a year and a half.
As a collector?
And I was, as a collector. I was, the first toy I ever bought was a single color custom that took like months to come in. So I didn't know about the indie side until I found Pleasure Forge, and it was just like my whole world shifted. But I saw all these indies doing it and I thought, okay, I kind of want to do that too. Let me do some research. And when you start researching, you're going to find like back then before Shop Dad, before, all the shops got together and made like Discords and stuff, you didn't have a lot of information out there. You couldn't find much. But what I did find was enough to start.
Yeah.
So, like during dinner, I thought, okay, well, I kind of want to do this. Let's see what I need. So then I just ordered everything. When it arrived, I thought to myself, oh God, what did I do?
Yeah.
I'm doing this.
Yeah.
But the first few pours were very nerve-wracking. And I mean, sometimes when I pour now, depending on the complexity, like for the cake pours I did, I was like, fingers crossed. But back then, every pour was like, ooh, I hope this goes well.
So, in the beginning, did you have a theme or did you have something in mind that you wanted to bring into the community that you hadn't seen?
I wanted to, Catalpa was a prime example of what I wanted to see more of, but couldn't. Like, people like equines, right? But they don't necessarily want, like, ones that look real.
Okay.
And I don't like that. I like the more, like, I don't want to say, like, cartoony look, but, like, it has a shape, and you can kind of, like, it has a flower for a head.
Right. So something kind of fantasy cute. And it evokes a certain style or idea. Okay.
And I wanted to mostly play with color. So my first few sculpts didn't have a lot of texture because when you start adding texture, it's harder to show the pour style and the colors. And I knew from the beginning I wanted to do rainbows. I think the first pour I did was a rainbow attempt. And I just kept going from there.
I mean, what's 6 colors? At least 6 colors.
Yeah. I mean, it was fine.
Okay. So did you keep all of your first toys?
No. So I only keep the major flops, like the ones that I can't sell. Like, they're the only ones I keep. I don't know what's wrong with me. I can't keep my own toys. Like, I'm like, oh, this is so pretty, I want to keep it. But then I'm like, oh, but someone else will love it. So then it goes into the shop. Yeah.
I've got a few that I've kept from the very beginning. But I'm kind of the same way, is that if I make it, I want it to go find a new home. So, I saw Dub Sativa in the chat, so that is awesome. I haven't seen Dub in a few weeks. All right, let's see. Catching up. There we go. Trying to get all my notes together here. So you came into this, and you had these ideas of designs that you wanted to do. You had colors that you wanted to do. Now, let's kind of fast forward through the last couple of years, and let's talk about, what ideas did you have in the beginning versus what we're seeing today, and what's the difference between your expectations of what this business would be like versus the reality of it?
Starting out, I really had no expectations because it's just so different from everything I've done before. I mean, like, I'm a STEM person who kind of stumbled into art and kind of gave up art when I was in high school. So going back into an art-based, science-based anything was just difficult for me. I was like, okay, I have all these ideas. I want to turn them into, an actual item. And what I found was, like, the more concrete idea you have in your head about how a pour or a model will turn out, the less happy you're going to be. And, like, it might be the prettiest thing ever, but, like, there's always something in your head saying, that's not how I wanted it to be. And, the moment you can let that go, you'll be a
Yeah.
lot happier and you'll stop limiting yourself as much.
I love that. I want to dive into that later. So, yes, we're talking about expectations of, that you've kind of set for yourself in terms of this particular pour. But, the reality of what it is today and what it has allowed you to do and the business that you've developed, did it end up the way you expected? Are you where you expected to be?
Not really. I didn't expect PPS to take off the way it did. It was during the pandemic that I started it, and I thought, okay, well, this will just be like a side hobby thing, because I had my day job, and I was going to school full time, and I was like, I can't add a third thing. Like, this is not going to happen. And then it just kept taking more and more of my time, and I was like, okay, well, I really enjoyed this. It's doing well. Let me focus more of my attention on this. And, and 2 years later, we're here.
Yeah. There's a question from Little Miss Usagi. How long were you in the community before you decided to give it a shot yourself?
I think it was about a year or a little over a year. It wasn't like super long. It was just long enough where I was comfortable. I had like, I don't know, maybe 50, 60 pieces. And I was thinking, okay, well, there are things that I would like, but I can't find. So I kind of started it kind of selfishly at first as like a hobby. And then it just evolved from there.
So now, as I understand it, you have worked with 3D model designers in the past. Is that right? How does that work for you?
Well, I worked with a few. I think the earliest model that I used a 3D artist for was actually Jupiter. So a friend of mine on Twitter had come to me with this drawing of a design, and it was a drawing of Jupiter, and I thought, okay, that looks really good. And she had asked me to make it a model, and I really wanted to do that because it was great, and I hadn't seen anything like it. So I contacted Abel from Discord, and he was able to design like this. Well, I mean, if you go on the website, you'll see Jupiter, but the details, beautiful, like fit the picture 100%. And I couldn't be more happy. And it was amazing. I couldn't have done that because I was so busy, and I just didn't have the skills, honestly.
Do you mind if I bring that up and show people?
I don't mind at all.
Okay. Let's take a look here. So this is the Jupiter, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so this is the one we were talking about that you worked with a designer to design that shape. And you have line art. Where's your line art? Do you have line art for Jupiter? Yes. There we go. Okay.
I want to say yes.
Yeah. Oh, this is nice. Let me see if I can blow that up a little bit.
I love glow in the dark so much.
Yeah, I was going to say that. So that's glow in the dark?
Yes.
Okay.
And the one next to it is UV.
There we go. Okay. Gorgeous. And now we can start to see some of those details, like around the base here. So when you are working with a 3D modeler, designer, how much do you take to them and how much do they bring to the table? Is it a collaborative work? How does that process look like for you?
It depends on what you're looking for. For example, with Jupiter, it was a concrete idea. There was a picture, there were expectations for what the model would look like. So in that case, I just go to the artist and I say, hey, this is what I want. This is, these are the details that I really want prominent, and these are the details that aren't as important. and then we just go back and forth seeing, the process and saying like, okay, well, let's go here instead of there, or you know most of the changes from picture to design would be just molding and pouring aspects. So if the swell is too large, like that's going to have to change, or the base needs to be bigger, or something like that. Or with items like Calypso or Hydra, they were pre-made, and I just saw them and thought, okay, that would fit my shop.
Mhm.
And in that case, you just purchase it.
Right.
And then, oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say,
And then
we're going to bring Calypso and Hydra on in a little bit. So didn't want to brush past that, but we'll get to that in a few minutes.
And then I recently worked with Venus on a custom model that neither of us have said anything publicly about it yet because it's really new. But basically, I went to him with an idea like, hey, this is what I want to accomplish with this model. These are the features that I would like, but I didn't have anything past that. And he was able to make it look really nice.
Okay.
And then with Nyx, it was also different. I mean, every experience is different. With Nyx, I had a very simple drawing that I just to show my idea, and they just, oh my, the talent, insane.
So what about inspiration? Where do some of these ideas come from? Not only for your colors, but also when you're working with designers?
It's just, with models and stuff, I think about, okay, what do I want to see in the market more? Or, what is missing? Or I look at my lineup and I think, okay, well, let me see what I need to add. Like, I already have a swell. I can't add another swell. Okay, I have, do I need another double shafted toy? Do I need, it's just about what I need. And then sometimes, I'll be walking down the street and see, I don't know, a lamppost, and it has an interesting design or a light bulb in it. And I'm like, okay, well, let me take a picture of that, and I'll go home and, see if I can work with it further to see if I can, come up with anything. It's as simple as that. Or I don't know, I had dreams about pouring colors, and I wake up and I'm like, I had to try that.
Was it Kristen from Pleasure Forge that she was talking about having some of those ideas and having to, she just had to go get that pour done. Because she works out of her home, she could, she just had to go out and do that.
I've definitely done that before. It's like, okay, I'm in bed, I'm trying to sleep, I can't sleep, I have to pour this.
Kitty Lord Savior had a question. How did soap making help you out? And did it help out with the pouring process or doing pours?
It really did, because soap making supplies are not as expensive as silicone. And the good news is, if it doesn't look good, you can still use it. So, so I don't want to get into the soap making process too much, because that's not what we're here for. But
Right.
basically, you mix oils and lye water together, and you have soap, and it cures just like silicone does. And you have to somehow do it, and then color it, and then make it layer nicely, or and it depends on what oils you use, the temperature, everything. It's just like silicone. If you blink 3 times versus 2 times, it's different.
So what about viscosity? Is there a similarity in the viscosity between soap and silicone?
There actually is.
Okay.
Yeah, if you I mean, it depends on what patterns you want to do, right? So like if you are working like with super soft silicone, for example, it's pretty runny. So fades are easier than marbles, for example. But if you're working with medium, it's a bit thicker and marbles are easier than fades. So it's similar with soap, but soap, it's still soap and it's going to cure into soap when you're done. So it's just about how much you mix it and how long you wait.
Right. Well, I was kind of wondering if the viscosities were similar, if that was something that you were able to draw on, that knowledge base of working with that and working with fluids and being able to get the results that you really wanted.
Yes. So I was already familiar with, adding pigments and layering in different containers to, pour a certain pattern that I wanted. And I also, the first time I poured soap, I was so nervous because you can like see it curing in your hands. You're like, oh my God, I need to get this in the container now. The same way with silicone. That's what I hear, like from a lot of new makers. I hear about that anxiety. And luckily for me, I've been making soap for a long time and it did help a lot.
Okay. Yeah. I think there's probably a difference in timing. Excuse me. And I don't know, do you feel rushed when you're doing pours, when you're doing silicone?
No.
Okay.
I'm like so happy and relaxed most of the times. Well, I say most of the times. But it like with certain pours, like with black highlights, you had to time it perfectly because otherwise the highlight will be gray, or you just don't have a highlight, you have a black toy.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Which is fine, but like that's not what you wanted. Or you have different layers, you want to time it right so it doesn't delaminate.
Okay. And little Mrs. Agi has another question, again reading my mind. Do you have a pour style that's your personal favorite to do? Drips, rainbows?
It has to be rainbows because I'm always thinking, what new style of rainbow can I do? What haven't I done yet? And I've done so much. At this point, it's getting a little difficult to find new methods, but I revisited a pour from like, I don't know, probably the first 10 pours I ever did. It was just the Jupiter that you showed, actually. Half of it was white and half of it was black, and there's a rainbow down the center that's marbled. And I had tried that like super early on, and I didn't do it justice, but I think this time I did.
Gotcha. I'm looking back at your website here, and there are things that I want to come back around and talk about, but I also have other questions I just want to get to. By the way, the glow in the dark models are getting so much love in the chat. I saw Shop Dad, I saw Ishtar. I've seen so many people in the chat, and I'm hoping that we get some really good questions. Frost, there's Frost in the chat, and Jenny as well. Jenny's soap, what is that? Okay. So, rainbows have been a staple for your style ever since you became, since you got started. Your first pour, you wanted to do rainbows.
And
it's
always loved them.
Now, this is from Alexis, and these are some really good questions, which is why I'm kind of getting them into the conversation now. Do you have a specific moment where you feel like your company kind of made it, that it became real for you?
I'm trying to think. I mean, there's no like moment. There are pieces of moments, when content creators start reaching out to you and saying, hey, like, let me do a review for you, or, those moments make you feel really seen and very real.
Mm-hmm.
When you see positive reviews from anyone, any kind of customer, that makes you feel real. When you see a post doing well on Twitter, that makes you feel good too. I mean, it's just like little pieces. They all add up together. And I mean, real is it's different for everyone, right? Like, your expectations versus mine are very different, and that's fine. What's real for you may not be real for me. And I think it's just hard to place one moment on it.
What about the first time you had to write a check for taxes?
I don't want to. Can we not talk about that?
Yeah, that's when it gets
just a little.
Yeah, that's when it becomes real for a lot of people, is when they, you get that first statement from your accountant, and they're like, "So, we need to write a check to the IRS."
Yeah, and then I'm like, "Okay, how much? Let me get my pen."
Yeah. I think that, like you said, a lot of people have different expectations of what their business is going to be, and, when it becomes real and stops being a hobby. But it sounds like you've also kind of balanced that. You've got a pretty good balance between your work life and your personal life.
Okay.
Well, it sounds that way. I mean, it sounds like you're also getting to do what you enjoy doing.
I mean, yeah. For the most part, yes. There are definitely busier moments than others. I just came back from hiatus, so it's been kind of go, go, go.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just waiting for December, where everyone is busy Christmas shopping and I get to rest.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, Ishtar had a question. Again, we're kind of staying in that vein of colors and styles. Did you ever try out any of your pour styles in soap before you did into toys?
No, because the techniques are different. Like Derek said, soap is more about what your interior pattern looks like. And you can also take like a wire rack and stir it up a little inside so you get those patterns. With silicone, you can't do that. Mm-hmm. So it's more about what the outside looks like. And I think that was the most difficult part for me. Transitioning from interior to exterior patterns. So I haven't.
Okay.
Should be interesting now. If I tried soap again, I wonder what I would do.
Yeah. And you could actually make your own molds.
I could.
Have you found that surface texture on your models or on your molds has an impact on your colors and the way that they come through?
Yes. So the more matte the mold is, the duller the colors will look on the model. And that's fine. I mean, there's a lot that goes into surface texture. I think usability goes down as surface texture goes down. Like, if it's smoother, usability is not, it's more about aesthetics than usability, in my opinion, because it just doesn't hold on to lube. I've run some tests where like satin versus glossy, and it's like a squeegee. Like, if you run your hand across it, it's gone on this glossy.
Yeah. Did you see the posts from Shop Dad this weekend? Maybe it was this week, where he had a really glossy surface versus a more matte surface. The difference there was huge.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, have you worked with Shop Dad at all?
Of course.
Well, who hasn't? You say that as if everybody has.
I love Shop Dad. He's great.
Yeah, he really is. Now, I think he showed off one of your models when he was doing his live stream. Or maybe I'm thinking of something else. I'm not sure. But Now, did you have some new models that you wanted to share and show?
Yes. Okay, so this is the exciting part. Okay, chat. Y'all want to see the models that are about to come out, have come out, or would you like to see things that you haven't seen yet? First, you'll see them both.
Mm-hmm. Well, while we're waiting for the chat, I will remind everybody that we've got, let's see, who do we have next weekend? Because I'm going to give the chat just a moment to catch up to us. Next weekend, we have Failophile. And Failophile, that's Felicity, and she is going to be doing a little bit different time. We're going to be doing 3 p.m. on Sunday for Felicity and Failophile. And she is a reviewer, and she has some really interesting work that she has done in researching lubes and things like that. And that's something I really wanted to get into. The following week after that, October 16th, we've got Fergus Monster rebooked. So we will have Fergus Monster back into... George, you can hear George laughing in the background now.
That was a good time.
People are wanting to see Billy. Okay, I'll remind everybody, Failophile next weekend at 3 o'clock, and then Fergus Monster on the 16th. Now, did everybody notice just above Linda's camera, we've got Billy. We've got Billy up there next to the PPS logo. There's Billy. Yay! All right, George, what did we figure out in terms of what people wanted to see? Did they want to see...
They want the sneak peek first, and then we can go over the rest.
Okay, everybody wants to see the sneak peeks first.
Okay, so I guess I'll do the one that's a little further down the production line. The other one. So we have Talon. Will be renamed.
Oh, that's awesome.
I don't think you can see much detail here, but...
No, I can see. Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
that's really cool.
So this is the one that I worked with Nyx on.
Okay.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. And is that 3D printed?
Yes, it is. This is just for size. So
Okay.
I didn't know how big I wanted it. And I think this might be the medium size. We'll see.
Okay. And what did you print that with?
This PLA. I mean, it's just a quick print. It's really rough. It's just for size.
Yeah, the first ones, it doesn't matter. The first ones, all we need to do is we need to see size and kind of volumes and shapes and things like that and proportions.
Yeah,
So,
see how well it'll mold and everything and just look at it from all angles. Like, it's different than seeing it on your computer screen, for sure. And then the other one, I'm also super excited about. I think there's a theme going on.
Oh, okay.
I think 2023 is time for PPS to stop doing single-shafted items. Wait.
That one is gorgeous.
So this is the one I worked on Venus with. This was a fully custom. I mean, I say that, but honestly, I just gave him the ideas and he did almost everything. So
the multi-shaft toys are getting a lot of love in the chat.
Okay, so now, I mean, we've all seen. So my goal for, I mean, if we're going to talk about goals and expectations, this year my goal was to come out with at least 3 new models. Because last year I was really busy with my personal life and I couldn't come out with as much as I wanted to. So this year I met my goal. And I'm so super, super excited. I don't have an Oberon with me. Oops. Well, y'all know what Oberon looks like. That was the first model that I had purchased from Frost, and that was the first model that I had released in a long time. And then we had Calypso, who just came
I'm going to
out.
bring up Oberon real quick.
Another rainbow.
Another, yes, yeah. Oops. see if I can get that. There we go. There's the Oberon. And who did you work with on this one?
That one I bought it from Frost.
Okay. Gotcha. And then what was the next one?
Calypso.
Ah.
So this one just came out 3 weeks ago, I think. And I mean, lovely. Also
Yeah.
from Frost.
Yeah.
This one was also a pre-made sculpt.
Okay.
And then
And none of those are available. Oh, the Calypso's not available on your website.
yeah, they sold out really fast.
Okay.
I only have one mold of each size, so I'm trying to make as many as I can per drop, but it's difficult, you know. But hopefully with time everyone can get one.
I saw something in the chat that I just have to throw out there real quick. This was from Ben. He says, "Bubble, bubble, toil and trouble. Future PPS shafts shall now be double."
I love that.
Okay, I interrupted. Keep going.
This is like show and tell. And then here is Hydrate in the same color as the Calypso. How do I... Here we are. Sorry, it's like backwards. I'm trying to figure out where to put this.
Just put it right in front of your face.
Right here. Okay, perfect. Everyone, focus on this. This is Hydrate. This is designed by Scion, and beautiful, beautiful sculpt.
Yeah.
This will be released in 5 sizes next weekend.
And that looked like a seahorse. Is that a seahorse?
Sea dragon, seahorse.
Okay.
Whatever
sea
you
dragon.
want.
Okay.
Cute noodle.
Gorgeous. Gorgeous. Yeah. Okay, so remind me again on release dates or what all is available versus what is coming out.
So Hydrate will be coming out next Saturday.
Okay.
That's its debut drop. And Calypso's already out. We'll probably have, I don't know, the same amount or more than last drop. We'll see. We'll see how many I can make. And Talon won't be out until first quarter 2023.
Okay.
If all goes well. And I've been calling this guy Kelpie. It's not going to be its like Finnish name, but you know, Kelpie will be out maybe second quarter 2023.
Okay. Gotcha. So you have things going on. And how far out do you start planning things?
Far out.
Okay.
You can't just think, okay, next week I'm going to do this. There just isn't enough time, and so many things can go wrong.
How long do you think it takes you to go from concept to release?
It depends. I mean, with Calypso, I had purchased the model from Frost. I think within like 2 months it was out. Because it was just easier to sculpt. I mean, to mold than the seahorse, or Kelpie is going to be a nightmare, probably.
Yeah. So, 2 months versus 12 months?
Yeah, I mean, with Talon, you're looking at almost a year. I mean, with Kelpie, you're looking at almost a year.
Yeah.
So it's important to space yourself out, because then it gives you time to really get to know the sculpt. Because, like, I find that the first, I don't know, like 5 pours, you don't understand the mold yet.
I think that's an interesting way of putting it, is getting to know the model and how it works. It's there's almost a relationship there.
Yeah. Like, you want to know everything about it, so you're not surprised. because sometimes you're like, okay, I thought I needed this much silicone, but turns out I need a lot more.
So let's talk about flops. Let's talk about problems. Do you have any? Have you ever had a flop?
Oh, who hasn't? There are two kind of makers in this world. Makers of flops and liars.
Yes. So let's tell me. We all have our stories. I'm gonna have to show you. I'll see if I can find the video of my worst flop.
That video?
Yes, I'll pull it up. But while I'm doing that, you have to tell me a story about your craziest flop.
Ooh. Okay, so I had this one Orin. I don't remember if it was a custom or if it was just for inventory. But anyways, I decided to do it in 2 different firmnesses for each shaft, soft and medium. And I did them around the same time, but like not exactly, because like you have to mix stuff. That's a lot of silicone. It was rainbow. So I had mixed up which one I had poured first. And I thought I had poured the medium first, but no, I poured the soft first. So the soft was all done and cured and ready to pull. So I pulled it and it came out perfect, great, wonderful.
Uh-huh.
The medium side. A nightmare. It was like, you know when clowns have shows and they're like pulling the scarf out of, it was like that. It just kept getting longer and longer. And then when it finally popped out, it was like the medium shaft was almost like double the soft.
Oh my god.
And it wasn't fully cured, and I couldn't just stuff it back into the mold, right? Like once you start pulling it, you just had to commit. And
I'm over here crying.
And so it couldn't stand by itself because it was so floppy and not ready yet. So I set it on its side on the table, and as it sat there, it got flatter and flatter and longer and longer. It was like, oh no, this is horrible. Now I don't have that piece anymore. I gave it to Tiberius of Fantasy Grove as decoration or just a funny piece because I just didn't have enough room for it in my shop. But think about it every now and then.
Oops, that's not the right one. Come here. I had that video pulled up. Why is it? Oh, that's why. Okay. I need to catch that, copy that, and take it back over to this one. Sorry, I had it in the wrong window. There it is. This is my glorious, glorious flop that I love to share. Boom. It just falls over.
The sound.
Yes. It makes a very satisfying thump as it falls over. That one, I actually threw it against the wall and it stuck. You know, like those wacky wall walkers? It was like that. It stuck and then it started to kind of roll itself down the wall. Oh, man.
Did you get a video of that?
No, I did get, I got pictures of it stuck to the wall. I might have
Darn
to...
you.
I
Where
know.
are they?
While we're talking, I'll see if I can find them. Okay, Shop Dad asks, many new makers struggle with muddy rainbows. What advice would you give them?
Add more pigment than you think you need. So if you think you have enough, add more, and then add a little more. The more saturated your colors are, the less likely they are to blend. And pay attention to your pot life. You don't have to pour everything at the beginning of your pot life. You can pour it towards the middle or the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Depending on how your silicone temperature and things like that, you can have a very linear progression towards, the end of your pot life, but then sometimes it just ramps up really fast. So
if you look at the Only Goblins website, shout out to myself. I made a page. I wrote up a page on pot life. So look there. It's very helpful.
Ooh. Onlygoblins.com. There it is. Maybe I misspelled that, or it's down. I'm not sure. If Shop Dad's in the chat, he may have to check on onlygoblins.com. No, actually, I think I know what it is. Yeah, there's no wah in the beginning of it. There's no www at the beginning. So, by the way, this is onlygoblins.com. It actually redirects to the wiki. This is Shop Dad's wiki, and it is a huge, wonderful resource that folks should really take a look at, especially if you're just getting started. There's so much information in here. It just keeps coming at you. I mean, there's just so much there. But I think you did. What did you say you did your article on?
Pot life. So
okay.
it's once you understand pot life, pours become easier because then you understand what the silicone wants from you. It's not about what you want from the silicone, it's what the silicone wants from you.
Ooh, I like that. Because I've always talked to people about, using the right materials for the right project. And you don't fight the nature of the thing that you're working with. You use its nature to its advantage. Well then, that was a thought that just kind of died.
I had a brain fart too. I was like, what was I trying to say?
Well,
just awkward silence.
Awkward silence, yes. Remember we were talking about how it goes off the rails every once in a while? That was one of them.
It just kind of tumbled off.
It did. Ultra Wormhole asks, will you ever resurrect Jackie? Were there technical issues that prevented you from making them the way that you wanted?
Send me an email.
Oh.
I don't want to talk more about that.
Gotcha. Okay. Cross that off my list. Now, I don't want to get too far into, kind of your proprietary processes and things like that, because we all have our little things that we, that make us who we are. And, Alexis has a question, and I don't think we're going to get too far into something proprietary, but I love this part of it. How do you manage to do such detailed pours in batches?
Practice, lots of practice. So I think that's the most difficult part of growing batch pours that still look like you put a lot of thought and effort into it, but you're not running around screaming when you're doing them. Because let me tell you, the first few times I did a batch pour, even just like half the size of what I do now, like let's say like 3 toys versus 6 at a time. Oh my, it was just insane. I was really panicking because you want everything to look uniform, from the first toy that you poured to the last. And figuring that out and figuring out the timing and pacing yourself really helps with that. And just doing it over and over and over. Like, I can do rainbows in my sleep now. Like, if you wake me up in the middle of the night, I don't even have contacts in, I'm barefoot, I have like one sock on, you're like, go make a rainbow. I'll be like, okay, I can do it. It's just muscle memory at that point.
Yeah, once you get into it, there's a rhythm. And, I don't want to call it a dance, but, there's a rhythm to it that, as you're doing this and you've got your next pot coming out that is, you got your vacuum chamber going, you've got your next batch, and there's this rhythm that you just kind of flow into, and you're able to, it just becomes second nature. So, Rasp asks, do you ever get creative blocks for pours or colors?
Yeah, of course. It happens. I mean, if you ever see me asking on Twitter, like, hey, what do you want me to pour? It's usually them. But when that happens, I think the best thing to do is just to like stop thinking about it. The more you think about it, the more anxiety you have and the less creative you can be. So stop thinking about it. Go make some food, sit down, watch some TV, play some video games, relax. Something will inspire you when you're doing any of those things.
Or take a shower.
Or just ask the sitter. Or take a shower.
Well, yeah, there's something about being in that kind of confined space and, you know, just very focused. And then the thoughts come, the ideas come. They have, for me at least, you know, that's where I get my harebrained ideas of random things that I want to try and experiment with. But, yeah, so I think there's a really good, each of us needs to find our place where we're able to go to kind of reset. Some folks, it's a museum or it's a walk in nature or something like that. Yeah, I think that is a great way. Let's see, there's a link here. Nope. Okay. George is throwing stuff at me in my my notes. And so, all right. Couple of questions. What's playing on your studio playlist?
Oh, a lot. There's so much. I mean, I listen to everything except for, I'm sorry, I can't listen to country. I don't know why. Anything but country. I mean, even jazz. I used to hate jazz because it reminded me of my dentist. But now that, you know, I'm not afraid of the dentist anymore. I love jazz.
See, I hate jazz myself. I think people were very surprised to hear that I had a Dolly Parton station on my Pandora. But
I'm just trying to see what I listened to last. I mean, it's this is going to sound really weird, but like the sadder or angrier the song and the playlist, the better the rainbows come out. I don't know why. It just is.
Yeah. I like it when it goes dark. That's my happy place. Portishead, Massive Attack, Nine Inch Nails, you know, going back into trip hop and industrial and things like that. That's my happy place, which is very, very dark. Now, have you done any work with Near Clear?
Yes. When it first came out, you know, everyone was super excited, and I had to get my hands on it too. I have so many thoughts about it. I don't know where to start.
Well, let's start with the mechanics of it. It is fairly clear, but you know, it's not. It says it's near clear. Okay.
So that has a lot to do with your surfaces, right? So if you have more of a matte surface, it's not going to look as clear versus if you have a glossy finish. And it depends on how you color it too. And there's a lot.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, the techniques of working with it are a little bit different as well. Mm-hmm. And I admit, I haven't worked with it at all, so I can't speak to that very much, just from what I've been able to put together. How much did you have to struggle to start to work with it?
Well, it's an upper body workout every time.
Okay.
It's a lot of my poor pressure chamber. My poor vacuum chamber. It's just like so abused whenever I do near clear, because when you degas near clear, it is not like anything else out there. It just like, you know, when you're making anything on the stove and you're like boiling water and it starts to overflow, and like no matter how much you blow on it or like turn down the heat, it's still just that's near clear if you don't keep an eye on it and have an upper body workout.
Now, when you say upper body workout, is that just from pulling it from the mold, or the race and the struggle to keep it from overflowing?
From overflowing.
Okay.
It is a struggle.
I was looking for, because I thought I had a video recently of vacuuming silicone, because I wanted to show people kind of what that is supposed to look like versus, and the thing is that the vacuum, there it is. Let me see if I can pull that up. Hopefully the sound doesn't come through, but you know, it expands. It rises up and then it'll collapse. But you know, come back here to the beginning. All that air coming out of it. And
but with near clear, speed that up 4 times. And then it keeps coming.
By the way, can you hear the music? Nope. Okay.
No.
Okay. There was music to that video that was blaring in my ears, but I'm glad that nobody else got to hear that because it was.
I do have a question
loud.
for you, though.
Okay, go ahead.
I have a question for you. How did you take that video? I tried to take degassing videos, and I don't know like what is going on with my. Like it just looks like a black hole. You can't see anything. Or I turned on the flash, and all you can see is the glare.
Okay, so when I had my silicone and my resin rooms built, I put in 4-foot LED lamps. Okay, like kind of like the fluorescent 4-foot fluorescents, but they're all LEDs. I put 8 of those into a room that is like 8 by 8. So I just have tons and tons of light coming down, and also clean the top of your vacuum chamber.
It's very clean. Come on.
So I have tons of light coming in, and whenever I'm doing degassing videos like that, I have to make sure that the top is just pristine, and you've got to keep making it refocus because it wants to.
Oh, okay.
The autofocus wants to wander. So yeah, but yeah, that one came out pretty good. So, but yeah, when I had the lights put in, at first I was like, this is going to be overkill, and then I realized I don't have to turn all of them on all the time, but I do. I turn all of them on all the time, and it's kind of amazing how much light is in there.
The more light, the better.
Yeah, and the walls are all just painted straight, stark white, so it kind of becomes this big light box. Anyway, there was a thought there that I was going to end up doing videos, so yeah, there were plans. Let's see. We talked about near clear. Now, did you have something? Did we get through all the sneak peeks and all the things that you wanted to talk about in that sense?
What?
George is in the background screaming small things that I'm not sure what she's talking about.
Well, there is one thing on the website. There's kind of like I don't know. I don't want to call it a scavenger hunt, but there's an item that you can't find regularly. I have a few examples here.
So
I can only fit so many.
So it's on your website, but you can't get to it? What does that mean?
You can.
Okay.
Well, Jenny has the right idea.
Huh.
So if you search for it, you might find it.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So what would they find?
They'll find pumpkins and candy. and trick or treat stuff.
Let's see the pumpkins. You had several, didn't you?
I do. So I wanted to test different pour styles on these guys and different colors. I don't know how clear you can see that.
That one looks
I
like
think the
that one looked like a donut. Like I loved that one. I loved that. I was like, it's like cream. Okay, sorry.
This one's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
It's just like you can't see, but there's like gold glitter everywhere on this one, and it's in this one too. It's color shifty-ish. There are so many. Like I made so many pumpkins. Just because like they're so cute and they're so satisfying to like squish. But yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Go search for the pumpkins.
All right. So they have to go to your website. They have to figure out how to find them. But they can find the pumpkins.
You want to try?
I don't know. I mean, I can, but also I don't want to spoil it for anybody. It's up to you.
Why don't you go in the background and try to find it, but don't show anyone the process.
Got you. And okay. Now, do you want me to show them? Do you want me to show people, or do you want to keep it a secret? Okay.
But not the process of finding them.
No.
That's a
so
secret.
I think I found it. And is that it?
Yes.
Oh, cool. Okay, let me zoom in. Yay. Pumpkins.
They're just pumpkins. Very cute.
But then there are pumpkins in the back here, too. Oh, there's a pink and blue.
So many pumpkins.
Oh.
So many pumpkins.
All right. So, everybody go to ppsculptors.com and see if you can find the pumpkins. That is so cool. Was that something that, I don't know. I was going to say, how did you come up with something like that? It's so creative.
Well, we had to blame Shop Dad for that.
Okay. We can blame Shop Dad for a lot of things.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, there are a lot of things that we can blame on Shop Dad. What was it? That was one of his lines that always gets people in trouble is, it's very simple. This process that we do, it's very simple until we add that, if I just do this, then...
Yeah.
Dub Sativa is asking, do you have any UV pigments that you would recommend for people to use? Do you have any thoughts or places that you might direct people towards for UV pigments?
So the Smooth On website is where I get mine at Reynolds, but it's basically Smooth On. Anyways, they have, let me see, I have here, these.
Uh-huh.
How do I do this? There we go. So these are the Silk Pick electric pigments. I really like them.
Yeah. I'm heading off to the Reynolds website so we can... Oh, they don't really show... Why do they do that? Their website does not really even show the things off very well, You kind of have to just know what you're looking for. But
it's, I think it's in, oh, there you go.
Yeah. I mean, there's 6 colors and they only show us 2 of them. That's annoying. But yeah, Reynolds, now Dub Sativa is actually in Spain. So you will have to find whatever your local Smooth On distributor is, and it's the electric line that you're looking for. Mm-hmm. What was the Ignite line?
Oh, a major pain, but
I have to look now. Okay. That was just their super saturated color line. It's not their fluorescence.
Kind of. You can basically use electrics for the same purpose, but they're a lot easier to work with. The
Gotcha.
ignites, they settle at the bottom, so you had to constantly mix it, or the pigment becomes like a brick. And it takes like an hour to mix it back together by hand.
Oh man. Yeah, I never did
Yeah,
get into
no, ignite.
yeah, I never got into the ignite pigments.
Don't.
Yeah. I'm going to put out there, we're going to do last call for questions. So if there are any questions that are still remaining, drop them in the chat. George will wrangle those and get them to me. In the meantime, I want to know, tell me about one random, unexpected tool that you have in your studio.
I'm trying to think. Unexpected.
Well, like Kisu and Friends, theirs are cocktail sticks. That's how they do all of their base art. It's amazing.
I'm trying to think. I mean, like, unexpected, like, pipettes, maybe?
Okay. Yeah.
There really isn't much that's unexpected.
Mine is...
I'm trying to think. Compressed air.
Okay. Yep. I would have used some this week. I was doing a pour, and you always get those little bits of silicone that kind of hang out at the top of the mold, and they always want to fall in.
Chopsticks are perfect. So when they fall in, just pick them back out. 'Cause they're not sharp like tweezers, right? You just
Okay.
Okay, unexpected. There you go.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, May's secret, or my secret. As a collector that started to shop, how has that changed the way that you collect?
A lot. It has changed a lot. I used to be around for all the drops. Now I'm like, oh man, I missed another one. But colors, they don't matter as much to me anymore. I used to have like specific ideas about what I wanted or what I thought I wanted. Now it's like, well, I don't care anymore. Color doesn't matter. I want it.
Interesting. So does that lead you to having multiples of the same model?
I mean, yeah. I'm guilty of that too.
Okay. Gotcha. And Little Miss Usagi, when it comes to your own collection, do you have any shops or models that you really love?
I mean, Pleasure Forge was kind of like my first love, right? Like you can never forget, never walk away from them. Just everything. I think at one time I had maybe 4 hook cores from them. All in the same size. I think 3 of them were in the same firmness. It was just, yeah. And then Strange Bedfellows. I have like, I don't know, like maybe 3. I don't know if I'm saying this right. Silas. I have so many Silas because I mean, it's beautiful.
Right? Rasp was asking, you mentioned that you started out as a collector. Do you have a favorite color or pour style for yourself? And I assume that means a particular pour style that you like to collect.
I mean, if it's pastel and rainbow, there's a good chance I want it. But lately, my current favorite pour style is like just really soft fades. Like you can barely tell that they're 2 colors. I don't know why. I just...
Ooh.
It changes all
Interesting.
the time, but that's what I like right now.
Like a blue into another blue, or like a white into a pale white, or into a gold, or what do you mean by that?
like like do you have interference micas?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about? Okay, so like one of those into another.
Okay.
Just slightly tinted. Just
Okay.
tiny bit, like
Interesting. Yeah. Um, let's see. Oh. What euphemisms have you used for your products? Like online or in front of friends or family?
so I mean with my friends and family, like with it just is what it is. You know, like
So your
although my
friends and
mom still
family
does
all
that.
know what you do.
Some of them, my friends do, some of them do. Some of my family does. My mom thinks I'm unemployed, but anyways.
Now, is that just because she likes to deny what you do, or is that...
No, because like she's like, it's not what I went to school for. So she's like, when are you gonna get a real job again? I'm like, well, this is my real job. She's just being a mom. It's fine.
Okay. And so it just is what it is. You talk about
It
dildos.
is what it is.
You talk about sex toys. Okay. Gotcha. And Rasp has one more question. I think we've got one or two more questions, then we'll wrap up here real quick. Question for question time. What's the most popular, best-selling PPS model? And how do you feel about that model for yourself? Not necessarily for yourself. What is your personal thought about that model?
So I think it might be Catalpha. It's probably Catalpha or Snarksma or more recently Calypso. Well,
Having a hard time choosing between your children?
yeah. So Catalpha was one of the first models that I designed on my keypad, on my touchpad, on my laptop. I didn't have a mouse. I was just it was a struggle.
In
So
Blender?
I have a lot of feelings about it. Huh?
Did you do that in Blender?
It was either Blender or Sculptors. I don't remember.
Oh my
I just
God.
knew I was like, this is horrible. I need a mouse.
Yeah, I can only imagine trying to use Blender on a laptop with a trackpad.
It was bad. I don't recommend it. Get yourself a mouse.
0 out of 10.
0, like negative out of 10.
Yeah. So the Catalpha was you've got a soft spot for it.
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, yeah. And Calypso, I love it. I mean, I can't pour anything that looks bad on it. I've been trying just to see like if it's possible. I don't think it's possible.
Little Miss Usagi asking, do you see yourself opening up customs or semi-customs like Strange Bedfellows friend requests in the future?
It's complicated because I'm the only one that, well, I'm the only one. So it's difficult because like to set aside the time for full customs, I don't know if I will be able to do. But semi customs maybe like Strange Bedfellows does their friend request, maybe in the future. I wouldn't say to like wait a long time for that because it may not happen. It may happen. I'll let you know. It's something I've been thinking about, but I don't know for sure. There's nothing concrete.
So if somebody were to do, or if you wanted to do something kind of like a friend request, what would that look like?
I mean, I would have, I guess, different tiers. Like, say you wanted something, like, I don't want to pour something that someone just won't enjoy. Like there'd be like the ultimate surprise or different color groups or themes or like food themed or whatever.
Okay. Gotcha. Kind of like how I do my Aurora, which is kind of a standard colorway, and you can get that in any of my models, and you can get it in any of the firmnesses, but it's going to be these 3 colors, and they're going to be in this particular order. Okay. So let me make sure I've got all the questions, because I have one last one that I want to get to from you, and then we will wrap all of this up. What does success look like for you?
I mean, for PPS, it's different like all the time. It's always changing. So, like this year, success for me was releasing 3 new models because that's what I wanted, and I did it. Well, almost. Next week I will have. That was what success for me looked like this year.
You want to know what's funny? Is that
What?
As I asked that question and my headphones cut out, I heard nothing of what you said. Literally, I heard nothing.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm sitting here going, okay, I hear the beep, I hear it reset. I'm going, I got nothing. I see you're talking, okay. And then I'm over here resetting my head. I heard nothing. I'm sorry.
Okay, I can repeat.
Can you recap that for me?
Yes, I can. I kind of finished laughing. I feel like this happens a lot with me. Like the first time you had me on,
Yeah.
we had all sorts of tech issues, and I think it's just me. Anyways.
Well, no, last week I had Kizu and friends on, and as soon as I hit go, and I brought Simo and Tom on, half of Tom's head was cut off. And I have no idea why. So it's like every time some small thing goes crazy. But I would love to hear what success looks like for you.
Oh my god. Okay. So
Actually, do you want to? Should we just do this? That was a wonderful explanation.
No.
I loved it. You were so deep on that it was just my mind is blown. I need one of those gifs that is just like mind blown.
No, I can repeat myself. Just give me like 2 seconds.
Well, I was just gonna
Okay.
say we can do this afterward, and we can wrap all of this up so that
Okay, that's fine.
you don't have to do that. Now, is there anything else that you wanted to touch on before we wrapped up this train wreck?
Let me check my notes.
Okay. So while you're doing that, I'm going to remind everybody that next weekend we've got Phalophile. Again, that is going to be at a different time. That's going to be at 3 o'clock on October 9th. And then the weekend after that, we've got Fergus Monster. And I can't remember what time we're going to do that one. I'll let you know what time. That is October 16th. So, love to the Fergus Monster, huh?
The Raspberry and everyone here and Fergus Monster.
Yeah. All right. So was there anything else that you wanted to touch on?
I think that's it. I mean, if anyone else has a question, I'm more than happy to answer. But I can't think of anything.
Okay. I'm going to go through my notes and see if there is anything else from George. There is not. So with that, I will wrap it up. Thank you, Linda. I've had a blast. And here in a few minutes, you're going to be able to tell me what success looks like for you. Wave, say goodnight, and I'll do a quick wrap up.
Good night, everyone. Thanks for coming out.
It's just amazing. something goes wrong with every show, and I love it. I mean, it's part of the reason why I do it live is just because it can be such a train wreck, but it's live, it's fun, we get to have the conversations. Linda was awesome. We did not get to see Billy, but as I understand it, Billy's not allowed in the area that she is in. Billy has some comments about Linda and how she got into this business. So definitely go to the video description and check that out. And with that, I am out. I'll see you next week. Bye.